Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Manny Maradiege, live today on August 22nd, a Thursday here. Before we really get into the weekend tomorrow, we got some more stories around the NFL with a couple breaking news circulating, and just some topics I wanted to bring up on today's show. One of the biggest ones, Bo Nix being named the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. We're going to be talking about that. Then also, sticking to the quarterback theme, Tom Brady speaking a little bit on why sort of Bill Belichick didn't get hired this season, giving his 2 cents on why that was and, what comes with eventually hiring Bill Belichick if that were to be the case next offseason. And also later on in the show, we're going to touch on the Steelers offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, and what he had to say so far about the preseason struggles on offense, specifically for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a couple more topics down the line as well. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to the show. And before we get started on today's first topic, I want to remind you guys, as always, if you guys have any questions you want to make on any of the topics, you have any comments you want to make also on anything I say, or just want to share an opinion as well on any of the topics as well, on top of that, we always want to hear it. It's always better when you guys are interactive with the show. It makes it a little bit more conversational. And what better way to do that than with the Super Chat feature now available to you guys. You could just look at the bottom of the screen and check out the Super Chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your Super Chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. It's always a fantastic way to support our channel as well, and always we rely on your guys' support to keep bringing you guys the sports content we love to bring you guys, and we always appreciate it anytime you guys are able to do that. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit the super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive as possible. But also, there is an alternative. You could still use the tip and donations link, gsmcpodcast.net, to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there if you prefer that way. Again, leaving your comment or question, it's a great way to interact with our show, and we always are so thankful for you guys whenever you guys are interactive, and we love having you guys as part of our community. But with that being the case now, Teddy Belcher 4K Ultra, I know you're thinking about today's games. Remind me again what they are. I know the third week of the preseason starts today. I want to say the Bengals play tonight, and potentially another team. The Bills and the Bears, I think, play tonight. I know a lot of their starters aren't playing. I know there's only a couple games on tonight. A little bit less exciting, but regardless, it should be something to watch in those games just because it is football, getting back into the spirit of things. But on that topic, on some of the performances, and speaking of the preseason, someone who took advantage of their preseason snaps was now the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. That would be Bo Nix. Denver and their head coach, Sean Payton, announced yesterday in a press conference that rookie quarterback Bo Nix won the starting quarterback job over Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. Selected with the 12th overall selection in this year's draft, Bo Nix was actually the last quarterback selected in the first round. He was the 6th quarterback taken in this year's historic quarterback class, because he now makes it half of that draft class now taken in the first round to be named officially the starters of their team, joining Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and now himself makes it 3 out of the 6 rookie quarterbacks taken to now be named the starters. So it kind of goes off of the segment that I did a day or two ago talking about this rookie class and obviously how historic they are, but a lot of pressure is being put on them. Since 2020, I think, just comparing it to that draft class, they're right up there, and already we're starting to see, those expectations, pan out a little bit here, with 3 of them already being named the starters. And you look at it, there's a total of 6 taken. It's really now 5 because J.J. McCarthy is obviously out for the entire year. So 3 out of the 5 taken in the first round already is a lot for that ratio, and we could still have one more in Drake May. I feel like that decision will come next week. But also, Colts-Bengals is a tradition in the preseason. Colts save a lot of money, and Pat McAfee blame Mike Brown. Yeah, I mean, I had no idea it was sort of a tradition like that, or the relationship there, the interactions with Pat McAfee and the owner of the Bengals, Mike Brown. But it should be good either way. I doubt again like any starters play, but I haven't really caught up on either of those two teams too much, so I might catch it a little bit later just to see what it's about because I am very much looking forward to the Colts and how they look this year. So I'll probably check it out a little bit later on, but. Sticking to this Bo Nix topic and more on him being named the starter, obviously, Sean Payton explained his decision a little bit in his press conference yesterday, basically saying it's not a reflection on Jared or even Zach. It's about what he has been able to do so quickly. It was the overall body of work, speaking about Bo Nix there, obviously. And now, in terms of how it relates and how it impacts the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix becomes the first rookie quarterback to start Week 1 for Denver since John Elway did it in 1983. Funny enough, that was the last time and only other time six quarterbacks were drafted in the first round. So kind of funny how it all played out there and the success that John Elway had. You can only hope that Bo Nix comes close to that, ideally for the fan base there and for the organization. But it's lined up pretty parallel with the draft classes, 6 quarterbacks taken, Denver taking one. Believe it if you will. It's kind of funny how it played out like that. So that's something else to keep in mind. Bo Nix pretty much has been impressive, like all the other rookies have been in the preseason. All throughout his 2 games, he's put together 4 scoring drives against the Indianapolis Colts, 2 more scoring drives against the Green Bay Packers, and overall he's gone a total of 23 for 30 for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns in the 2 preseason games he has played in. And, overall, the Broncos and obviously Sean Payton will hope that Bo Nix, like I mentioned, and how it kind of lines up with John Elway and the prosperity that they had with him. Lining it up now with Bo Nix, you can only hope to get that same amount out of Bo Nix, obviously, because, this team has suffered with just very unlucky, very bad performances from the quarterback position for almost 10 years because it was since 2015 that they haven't made the playoffs, and since 2015, their quarterback that year was Peyton Manning. And, since that time, they've cycled through 13 different starting quarterbacks. Now Bo Nix becomes the 14th different starting quarterback for them since they had Peyton Manning. So it's almost been exactly 10 years since they made the playoffs. And not to say at this very moment that Bo Nix is going to take him there right away. We obviously have to see how he plays, and not only that, how the rest of the team responds to him, because initially when they did draft Bo Nix, I came on here and said that I thought the rest of the team wasn't really ready to bring in a starting quarterback and expect results right away. But if it's an improvement just over last year, not necessarily making the playoffs, I think the Broncos will be all right with that. In all sincerity, and really how he fits with this team. Sean Payton has been very impressed, like he said, with the overall body of work. And to me, the more and more I looked at Bo Nix, the more he just seemed to be like the perfect, ideal quarterback for Sean Payton. How Sean likes everything to be very, I would say, tidy. Keeping it all according to plan, not making too many or not taking any extra risks when you don't have to, keeping everything in line, like a general out there. I think Sean Payton runs a very tight ship in terms of what he wants to see on offense, and I think Bo Nix fits that to a T because the fact that he can decipher defensive coverages pretty quickly. He always seems to make the right read. He's efficient with the ball in all the throws. And a lot of the times, one of the biggest praises that Sean Payton mentioned about Bo Nix early on was that he just doesn't take a lot of unnecessary risks, like I mentioned, and not a lot of unnecessary sacks. He's very smart with the football. He's very intentional with every throw and, just throwing it away if there's nothing there. That line of taking a little bit extra step, testing your limits there, I think Bo Nix, teeters that line to the perfect extent that Sean Payton trusts him enough already as a rookie to be that starting quarterback. And there were those comparisons to Drew Brees a little bit. Sean Payton kind of fanning that fire when he mentioned that both of them didn't really take a lot of sacks. They were smart with the football. So, the media ran with that. And, you can kind of see it a little bit. They almost look, oddly enough, very similar just when you're looking at them. But I would say Bo Nix is a little bit more athletic than what Drew Brees was in his prime. And Bo Nix obviously isn't in his prime. He won't be probably in until a few years. But I can sort of see, similar comparisons to them in a way there that Sean Payton loves and has been very successful with Drew Brees, and how similar Bo Nix can be to an extent. I think this is his guy, obviously, that Sean Payton wanted to bring in here. He was very adamant about drafting him at the 12th overall pick. So now that, this is his hand-picked guy, how everything broke down with Russell Wilson and how just big of a mess that was, now you get the quarterback that you want, ideally that fits your system perfectly. It's great. Not only that you got him in the draft, but now that he's good enough to start, there's a little bit more of an incentive there for Bo Nix and for the Broncos to make sure that this pans out, because, all your chips now are on this rookie ideally, and, a lot went into getting him. You just don't get first-round draft picks that high and still get a quarterback that you want. Bo Nix was the player that Sean Payton wanted. He handpicked him, and this ideally, I don't want to say has to work relatively soon, but you have to see results in probably, I would say, 2 to 3 year window, and make sure that the rest of this team, catches up to speed. And a lot of times, having a good quarterback can mask a lot of those deficiencies you might have elsewhere. And how this goes, the pace of it all should be interesting to keep, track of. The Broncos, again, don't have too many expectations on their shoulders right now, but the fact that this is going as well as it has, it won't be too long before the pressure starts to build a little bit on Bo Nix and on Sean Payton especially, because they're, gambling a lot. They're investing a lot in this rookie, starting him right away. So we'll see how it all pans out. It's great that Bo Nix is getting a chance to start right away. All three of those guys, Jaden, Caleb, and Bo, have arguably been the three best in the preseason, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. And now the biggest question remains, are we going to have another rookie starting in Drake May? There's a lot of hype around him, so if I were to be a betting man and wager what it would be, I wouldn't start him, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had to put a bet on it or anything like that. I would say that Drake May would also start. I think there's too much smoke there to not believe it at the end of the day, but that's just me. But that is pretty much it. That was some of the biggest news that broke over the last couple of days on the NFL. Just another rookie earning his spot there on the team. But now we're going to move on to not a rookie quarterback, but one of the more experienced ones, the most successful one in NFL history. Tom Brady talking about his former head coach, Bill Belichick, and touching on the situation that Bill Belichick did not get hired this offseason. He kind of gave a reason why. He just gave his 2 cents on why that could have been. And we're going to dive deeper into that a little bit more, what Tom Brady said, and just my thoughts on where Bill Belichick would be an ideal fit, hopefully in 2025. So stick around. A lot more to come on today's show. We'll be right back.